सर्वेभ्यो नमस्कारः। अन्ते सिद्धान्तकौमुद्याः अजन्त स्त्रीलिंग प्रकरणे 11 भागः जून मासस्य 20 दिनाङ्कः। येनाक्षरसमाम्नायम् अधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य तदुक्तिः परिभाव्य च वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तकौमुदीयं विरच्यते। इकारान्ताः उकारान्ताश्च स्त्रीलिङ्गाः अधीताः। किं किमासीदिति एकवारं पश्यामः। ईकारान्तस्त्रीलिङ्गेषु प्रथमः शब्दः आसीत् गौरी शब्दः, यः ञन्तः नदीसंज्ञकश्च। गौर शब्दात् नीष् प्रत्ययेकते गौरी इति शब्दः निष्पाद्यते, तस्मादयं ञन्तः। यूस्त्र्याख्यो नदी इत्यनेन ईकार उकारान्तं नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गं नदीसंज्ञकं भवति इत्युक्तत्वात् अस्य नदीसंज्ञापि अस्ति। तेन किं भवति, ञन्तप्रयुक्तं कार्यम् अर्थात् सुलोपः भवति। नदीप्रयुक्तानि कार्याणि सम्बुद्धि ह्रस्वः आडागमः नुडागमः आमादेशः इत्येतेपि भवन्ति। लक्ष्मी शब्दः अस्ति यत्र ञन्तत्वं नास्ति, अञन्तः किन्तु नदीसंज्ञकः। औणादिक ई प्रत्ययान्तत्वात् ञन्तत्वं नास्ति, नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वात् नदीसंज्ञा तु अस्ति। तेन ञन्तप्रयुक्तं कार्यम् अर्थात् सुलोपः न भवति, अन्यानि कार्याणि भवन्ति। गौरीवदेव रूपाणि लक्ष्मीः इति प्रथमैकवचनं विहाय अन्यत् सर्वमपि गौरी शब्दवदेव। स्त्री शब्दः आसीत्। स्त्री शब्दः ञन्तः नदीसंज्ञकः अर्थात् गौरी शब्दवदेव, किन्तु तेन सह स्त्रियाः इति सूत्रेण वांशसोः इति सूत्रेण च इयं भवितुम् अर्हति। यत्र गौरी गौर्यौ गौर्यः इत्यादिषु इको एणचि इत्यनेन यण् प्राप्तः तं बाधित्वा स्त्रियाः इति विशेषसूत्रेण अस्य शब्दस्य इयङादेशो भवति इति विशेषः। तेन यत्र गौरी शब्दे यणादेशः श्रूयते तत्र स्त्री शब्दे इयं श्रूयते इति विशेषः। स्त्रीः क्षम्यतां, स्त्री स्त्रियौ स्त्रियः, हे स्त्री हे स्त्रियौ हे स्त्रियः इत्यादीनि रूपाणि। एवमेव श्री शब्दः अस्ति। श्री शब्दः न ञन्तः, अत्र धातोः ईकारः श्रूयते। लक्ष्मी इत्यत्र औणादिकप्रत्ययस्य ईकारः, श्री इत्यत्र तु धातोः ईकारः। अञन्तः इयं स्थानिकः। धातोः ईकारः इत्युक्तत्वात् अचिष्णुधातुभ्रुवां योर्यङौ इत्यनेन इयं प्राप्नोति। यदा इयं भवति तदा नदीसंज्ञा निषिध्यते नेयङौ स्थानामस्ति इति सूत्रेण। निषिद्धे सति पुनः वामि इति स्रष्ट इति सूत्रेण आमिपरे नित्सु प्रत्ययेषु च पदेषु विकल्पेन नदीसंज्ञा उच्यते। तेन तेषु स्थलेषु एव रूपद्वयं सम्भवति। श्रियै श्रिये, श्रियाः श्रियः इत्यादीनि। नदीसंज्ञकं रूपम् एकं भवति, तद्विना अपि एकं रूपं भवति। सः श्रीशब्दस्य विशेषः। प्रधी इत्यपरः शब्दः। प्रधी शब्दस्य द्वेधा विग्रहः भवितुमर्हति। प्रध्यायति इति प्रधीः इति विग्रहे किं भवति इति चेत् धातोः ईकारः। प्रधी इत्यत्र तु ध्यै धातोरेव ईकारः। प्रध्यायति इति प्रधीः इति विग्रहे लिङ्गत्रयेपि भवितुमर्हति। प्रध्यानं नाम क्रिया या अस्ति सा पुल्लिङ्गेपि पुल्लिङ्गेपि स्त्रीलिङ्गे वा नपुंसके वा भवितुमर्हति। तेन किं भवति, नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वं नास्ति कैयटादीनां मते। तेन ञन्तत्वं नास्त्येव, अञन्तः यण् स्थानिकः। अयमपि धातोः ईकारः। यत्र धातोः ईकारः उकारो वा सम्भवति तत्र द्वेधा गतिः। चिष्णुधातुभ्रुवां योर्यङौ इत्यनेन इयं भवति, अथवा एरनेकाचो संयोगपूर्वस्य इत्यनेन यण् भवति। आदौ द्रष्टव्यम् एरनेकाचो संयोगपूर्वस्य इत्यस्य नियमाः यदि सन्ति तदा तु यणेव भवति, तदभावे इयं। श्रीशब्दे संयोगपूर्वकत्वात् एण् न भवति, इयं भवति। प्रधी शब्दे तु संयोगः नास्ति, धात्वयव संयोगः नास्ति, अनेकाजङ्गम् अस्ति तस्मात् एरनेकाचो संयोगपूर्वस्य इत्यनेन यण् भवति यण् भवति इत्यतः नेयमवस्थानावस्थिति इति निषेधोऽपि न भवति नदीसंज्ञा भवेत् यदि नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गं तर्हि नदीसंज्ञा भवति किन्तु अयं शब्दः नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गो वा न वा इत्यत्र मतभेदः अस्ति कैयटादीनां मते दीक्षितानां मते अपि नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वं नास्ति किमर्थं नास्ति प्रधीशब्दः पुल्लिङ्गेऽपि अस्ति स्त्रीलिङ्गेऽपि अस्ति नपुंसकेऽपि अस्ति प्रध्यायतीति प्रधीः इति निष्पत्तौ तेन नदीसंज्ञा नास्ति इति कैयटः वृत्तिकारादयस्तु नदीसंज्ञाय नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वस्य किं लक्षणम् इति चेत् शब्दान्तरं विना स्त्रियां वर्तमानत्वं नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वम् इति स्वीकृत्य प्रधीशब्दस्यापि नदीसंज्ञा अस्ति इति वदन्ति यदि नदीसंज्ञा अस्ति तर्हि लक्ष्मीशब्दवद्रूपाणि नदीसंज्ञा नास्ति चेत् पुल्लिङ्गे यथा भवति तथा नदीप्रयुक्तानि कार्याणि न भवन्ति यन्तप्रयुक्तान्यपि कार्याणि न भवन्ति अजादिप्रत्यये परे एरनेकाचो संयोगपूर्वस्य इत्यनेन यणादेशः इत्येव रूपम् अपरः विग्रहः भवति प्रकृष्टा धीः इति अत्र तु धीशब्दः नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गः प्रकृष्टा धीः इति विग्रहे अस्य नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वं भवति सर्वेषां मते तेन पुनः अङ्यन्तः अर्थात् ङन्तप्रयुक्तस्सुलोपो न भवति प्रधीः यण् स्थानिकः प्रध्यौ इत्यत्र एरनेकाचो संयोगपूर्वस्य इत्यनेन यण् नदीसंज्ञा अस्ति नदीसंज्ञा अस्ति चेत् आडागम नुडागम आमादेशाः भवन्ति तेन तत्प्रयुक्तानि प्रध्यै प्रध्याः इत्यादीनि रूपाणि सम्भवन्ति एवमेव सुधी शब्दः इट इज एक्साक्टली सिमिलर टू प्रधि in that there are 2 or 3 vigrahas and the logic is all the same except that suthi shabdasya yan na bhavati nabhusudhiyoh iti nishedhat yan na bhavati sushtudhyayati sushtudhihi yasyaha iti bahuvrihau va punah lingatrayepi asti shabdah अन्यन्तः यन्तत्वं नास्ति इयं स्थानिकः नभूसुधियोः इति यणो निषेधात् इयं भवति चेत् नेयङुवङ् स्थानावस्थे इति निषेधः पुनः वैकल्पिकनदीसंज्ञा भवितुम् अर्हति कैयटमते न भवति नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वाभावात् वृत्तिकारमते तु नदीसंज्ञा भवति इत्युक्ते विकल्पेन भवति इत्यर्थः इत्सु आमि च विकल्पेन भवति सम्बुद्धौ न भवति सुष्ठु धीः इति विग्रहे तु पुनः धीशब्दस्य नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वात् नदीसंज्ञा भवति विकल्पेन नदीसंज्ञा यत्र विहिता वामीति इति ह्रस्वश्च तदुभयं भवति तेन सुधीशब्दः श्रीशब्दवद् भवति यदि नदीसंज्ञा विद्यते यदि नदीसंज्ञा नास्ति तर्हि पुल्लिङ्गवद् रूपम् अनन्तरम् इतोपि आसन् शब्दाः ग्रामणी शब्दः अस्ति ग्रामणी शब्दः एवमेव ग्रामं नयति इत्यर्थे सः अपि यन्तः नास्ति यण् स्थानिकः यण् भवति अत्र नदीसंज्ञा नास्ति अर्थात् यद्यपि ग्रामणी शब्दः लिङ्गत्रयेपि अस्ति तदापि वृत्तिकारमतेपि नदीसंज्ञा न भवति किमर्थं न भवति इति चेत् ग्रामनयनं प्राधान्यतः अथवा उत्सर्गतः पुंधर्मः इति स्वीक्रियते तेन शब्दान्तरं विना स्त्रियां वर्तमानत्वं नास्ति इति अभिमतः वृत्तिकाराणाम् अतः ग्रामणी शब्दः पुल्लिङ्गवदेव भवति स्त्रीलिङ्गस्य किमपि कार्यं न भवति यन्तप्रयुक्तानि कार्याण्यपि न भवन्ति नदीसंज्ञाप्रयुक्तान्यपि कार्याणि न भवन्ति एते इकारान्ताः स्त्रीलिङ्गाः उकारान्तस्त्रीलिङ्गेषु विषयः नास्ति बहुधा धेनुः मतिवत् इति उक्तं धेनुशब्दः मतिशब्दवत् अर्थात् घिसंज्ञा भवति ङित्सु प्रत्ययेषु ङिति ह्रस्वश्च इत्यनेन विकल्पेन नदीसंज्ञा अपि भवति तत्प्रयुक्तानि कार्याणि भवन्ति क्रोष्टुः त्रिज्वत् क्रोष्टु इति उकारान्तः स्त्रीलिङ्गः स्त्रियां च इत्यनेन त्रिज्वद्भावः भवति क्रोष्टृ इति ऋकारान्तं भवति ऋकारान्तत्वे सति ऋनेभ्यो ङीप् इत्यनेन ङीप् प्रत्यये क्रोष्ट्री इति ईकारान्तं भवति इकारान्तत्वे सति गौरी शब्दवद् रूपाणि यथा गौरी शब्दः तथैव रूपाणि इति उकारान्ताः स्त्रीलिङ्गाः कोऽपि विशेषः नास्ति. Before we go to the next one, there was a question over mail about something we discussed last class about prapta vibhasha, aprapta vibhasha and ubhayatra vibhasha. Okay. So actually we have discussed this earlier. I mean the Kaumudi itself says ubhayatra vibhashayam. But currently I don't remember exactly where that was. We have discussed this in Sarvadi Prakarana. Sarvadini Sarvanamani ityatra asit. And also in some other places we had it. But to give a brief thing about Prapta Vibhasha, there are Vibhasha means Vikalpa, an option. Vibhasha can be of three kinds. It can be a Prapta Vibhasha, it can be Aprapta Vibhasha, and it can be Ubhaya Vibhasha. Prapta Vibhasha is where, so you already are getting something from a previous sutra. Something is compulsorily happening from a previous sutra, but then you prevent it or you optionalize it using something, using some other sutra. Okay, so that would be called Prapta Vibhasha. For example, you have okay, you have Striyaha and Vamshasohu, which you have just dealt with. Striyaha says Ajadi Pratyaya Parataha Stri Shabdasya Iyang Bhavati. Right? So Stri Shabda will get Iyang whenever it is followed by an Ajadi Pratyaya. This will apply in case of all Ajadi Pratyayas, including and Shas, since both of them are Ajadis. Immediately he says Va Amshasohu. When followed by and Shas, it is an optional Iyang. Okay. So now in the absence of this sutra, in the absence of Vamshasohu, by Striyaha would have compulsorily got Iyang, but Vamshasohu says it is optional. So Purva Sutrena Prapte, Anena Sutrena Vikalpyate. Iyam Prapta Vibhasha. This is called Prapta Vibhasha. Aprapta Vibhasha is where it would not have gotten anything from the previous sutra, and it says you will you are getting it optionally from the sutra. When the previous sutras say the rules were not satisfied, you would not have gotten for it from the previous sutra. Now he says, okay, take it optionally by this sutra. Then it is called an Aprapta Vibhasha. For example, you have again Sarvadini Sarvanamani, where you have Na Bahuvrihau and Vibhasha Diksamase Bahuvrihau. Okay. So because of Na Bahuvrihau, in Bahuvrihi Samasa, there is no Sarvanamatva. Okay. Whether you take it Panini or Artikakara says Samyopasarjani Bhutasthana Sarvadaya. In Bahuvrihi Samasa, there is no Sarvanamatva. Okay. Now Vibhasha Diksamase Bahuvrihau says in Diksamasa, in Bahuvrihi, if it happens to be a particular Diksamasa, you have an optional Sarvanama Samya. Okay. So when it was not being when Sarvanamata was not there at all, it gives an option that in Diksamasa you can have an optional Sarvanama Samya. That is called an Aprapta Vibhasha. Anyena Sutrena Aprapte, Anena Sutrena Vikalpyate. I am Aprapta Vibhasha. Ubhaya Vibhasha is where there are many things which are being included in that Vikalpa Sutra. For some things from the previous sutra you would have got a compulsory karya. For some other things you would not have got that karya. Now we are clubbing it, since this Vibhasha or the Vikalpa Sutra clubs it, it will be called Ubhaya Vibhasha. It will be Prapta Vibhasha for some entities in that and Aprapta Vibhasha for some others. Okay. So that would be called Ubhaya Vibhasha. For example, you have say okay, you have a sutra again in the Sarvadi Prakarana, Sarvanama Prakarana, which says Prathama Charama Tayalpartha Katipaya Nemascha. So this is a Vikalpa Sutra. It says for them Jasipare Vikalpena Sarvanama Samya Bhavati. Okay. Now for Prathama Charama Taya Alpa Ardha etc., they are not in the Sarvadigana. Therefore they would not have got Sarvanama Samya at all. Therefore it is Aprapta Vibhasha. For Nema Shabda, Nema is already in Sarvadigana, so it would have got a compulsory Sarvanama Samya in Jas. Okay. Together he says all of them will get an optional Sarvanama Samya in Jas by this sutra. So this sutra is aprapta vibhasha in case of prathama, charama, etc. and it is prapta vibhasha in case of jas. Together it would be called ubhaya vibhasha. Okay. So there were at least, there are at least 2 previous cases where we have dealt with this. I will look it up and give references on where we have discussed this earlier. Any questions from previous class? Okay. Agre saramaha. Ukarantaha Streelingaha. Vadhuhu gaurivat ityanenaiva arabhyate. Vadhu iti ukaranta Streelingaha sadharana shabdaha. Gaurivat yatha gauri shabdaha tatha karyani. Gaurivat ityatra kaha abhiprayah. आदौ एव अस्ति भेदः वधूः इति उच्यते गौरी इत्यस्य गौरी इत्यत्र विसर्गः नास्ति वधूः इत्यत्र विसर्गः श्रूयते तद्विहाय अन्यत्र गौरीवत् इत्यर्थः अयम् औणादिक उप्रत्यान्त शब्दः this is actually it would be correct to say this is lakshmivat because this is a word which is derived from an u pratyaya which is unadi because of that and anyway it is not nyanta. Nyanta would refer to hal nyap. Nyanta or abanta only would get sulopa by halgyambhyo dikhat sutisya praktam hale. Asya tu nyantatvam abantatvam va nasti ityatah sulopo na bhavati. Nyantatvad na sulopaha atah vadhuhu. Vadhu supratyaya rutva visargayoh kritayoh vadhuhu. Tadanantaram anyatra gauri shabdavat. Nadi karyani. Use trakhyo nadi ityanena nadi samnya bhavati. Tena tatprayuktani karyani bhavanti. वधूः वध्वौ वध्वः हे वधू इति सम्बुद्धिः ह्रस्वः भवति अम्बार्थनद्योर्ह्रस्वः वध्वै वध्वाः इत्यादिषु आडागमः भवति वधूनाम् इति नुडागमोऽपि भवति वध्वाम् इति ङेः आमादेशः भवति सो तेन गौरीवत् इत्यत्र प्रथमैकवचनं विहाय एक्सेप्टिंग प्रथमा विभक्ति एकवचन where there is no sulopa everywhere else it will behave like gauri vadhur gaurivat. Okay. So that's all. If you remember from there, prathamaika vachane anyantatvat sulopo na bhavati iti pathamaha. Ajadishu pratyayeshu paratah sarvatra iko enachi ityanena yanadeshah. So since this is not a dhatu, there is no question of achishnu dhatu bhruvam or eranekachaha. Simple iko enachi everywhere, wherever there is yan. Okay. And then naditva prayuktani karyani he vadhu ityatra sambuddhi hrasvaha vadvai vadvaha vadvam ityadishu adagamaha vadhunam iti nudagamaha vadvam ityatra ङेः amadeshascha. This is exactly like Gauri. There is nothing special about this. Bhruhu shrivat. Bhru iti shabdah asti. Bhru means eyebrow. Shrivat ityuchyate. As we have just recapped, Shri Shabda. If you would look at the first slide of this presentation, you would see that Shri, what are the properties? It is not Nyanta, meaning there is no Sulopa. It Yang Arhaha, it has the Yogyata to get Yang. Achishnu Dhatu Bhruvam. Achi Shnu Dhatu Bhruvam. Vishishya Bhru iti Uchyate Sutre, Tena Yang Bhavitum Arhati. Yoho Yang Ono. उवंग भवति क्षम्यतां श्री शब्दस्य यथा इयं तथा भ्रू शब्दस्य उवंग भवितुम् अर्हति यदि उवंग भवति तर्हि अन्यन्तत्वात् सुलोपो न भवति प्रथमः यथा श्रीः तथा भ्रूः उभय You can't hear me?
Now we are okay. We just lost you for a few seconds. If you can start with Ajadi Pratyeshu.
Oh, okay. Ajadishu Pratyeshu Achishnu Dhatu Bhruvam Ityanena Uvang Bhavati. Okay, since it specifically says Bhru Shabda, whenever it is followed by an Ajadi Shabda, you have Uvang. उवङि सति नेयङ उवङ स्थानावस्त्रि इत्यनेन नदीसंज्ञायाः निषेधो भवति न इयङ उवङ स्थानौ यस्य शब्दस्य इयङ भवति अथवा उवङ भवति तत्र नदीसंज्ञा न भवति इति निषिध्यते तेन किं भवति हे भ्रूः इत्येव भवति हे भ्रू इति न भवति ह्रस्वः नास्ति अम्बार्थनद्योः ह्रस्वः अनन्तरं वामि इत्यनेन आमिपरे विकल्पेन नदीसंज्ञा भवति नीति ह्रस्वश्च इति सूत्रेण इत्सु प्रत्ययेषु परेषु विकल्पेन नदीसंज्ञा भवति तेन यथा श्रिया श्रियै श्रिये इति भवति तथा भ्रुवै भ्रुवे भ्रुवाः भ्रुवः इत्यादीनि रूपाणि किन्तु हे सुभ्रूः इत्यस्ति सुभ्रू शब्दस्य शोभना भ्रूः यस्याः सा इति वा सुष्ठुभ्रूः इति वा अत्र तु शोभना भ्रूः यस्याः सा इत्येव उचितं बहुव्रीहिः हे सुभ्रूः सुभ्रू शब्दस्यापि एवमेव सुभ्रू शब्द would be exactly like भ्रू शब्द since there is no nadi samya in sambuddhi there is no hrasva okay नदीत्वा भावात् ह्रस्वो न भवति कथं तर्हि हाफितः क्वासि हे सुभ्रु इति भट्टिः दीक्षिता raises a question Bhatti was a Vaiyakarana he was a famous grammarian but he is known more for his grammar he is known for a kavya which is called Bhatti Kavya or Ravanavadha its proper name Ravanavadha is a kavya which is written not with as literature but it was a poem which was written specifically with the aim to demonstrate the Vyakarana Prayogas or Vyakarana Sutras. It gives examples for all Vyakarana Sutras. I mean, the Kavya itself has been divided into several cases. There are a few sargas where he gives all examples of Krudantas, the application of Krudanta related sutras, application of Tadhitanta, everything. The entire Ashtadhyayi, if you want to find examples, you can go to Bhatti Kavya, where he is, it is a Kavya, Ravanavadha, it is Kavya based on Ramayana, and you have the story and all that, true. But still the importance of that for grammarians is in that he gives all the rare prayogas. I mean, for the general things in the general kavyas you can find examples, but if there are cases where we don't find examples or where can this be used, if you are thinking of that, if you go to Bhatti Kavya you will find examples. Okay, he has used them very cleverly and very well. Okay, so Bhatti Kavya is a very well thought out kavya, where very scholarly kavya also. Unless you actually study grammar, you cannot understand Bhatti Kavya. Anyway, Bhatti, he has used a word. He says, Hapitah kwasi he subhru. He subhru ityatra hrasvaha shruyate. Like he vadhu, he has used ambartha nadyor hrasvaha and he has used a prayoga called he subhru. He says, how? Actually, it should be he subhruhu because there is no nadi samya because of neyang vangsthana vastri. How does he say he subhru? That's the question. This happens in many cases. Dikshita takes prayogas of Bhatti and he tries to either support them or say that they are wrong. Okay. So he says, Pramada evayam iti bahavaha. So according to most people, this is an error. An error, even if a Vaiyakarana makes it, it is an error. Okay. So Pramadaha eva, this is an error. Iti bahavaha. Most of the people agree that it is an error. Some people who support it in some other way, but generally taking it as a Streelinga Subhru Shabda, then it is an error because it has to be He Subhruhu and not He Subhru. Okay. So, Khalapuhu Pumvat, Khalam Punati, iti Khalapuhu, where it is a Ukara belonging to a Dhatu. Khalam Punati. पुनः अन्यन्तत्वात् सुलोपः न भवति नित्यस्त्रीलिङ्गत्वा भावात् नदी संज्ञा नास्ति खलं पुनाति whenever you are deriving something from a dhatu that is kartrarthe it can be in all three lingas khalam punati iti it can be a man or a woman or napumsakalinga word so अत्र नदी संज्ञा न भवति यु स्त्र्याख्यो स्त्र्याख्यत्वं नास्ति इत्यतः नदी संज्ञा अपि नास्ति तेन पुंलिङ्गवत् रूपाणि भवन्ति अजादिषु विभक्तिषु एरनेकाचो संयोगपूर्वस्य इत्यनेन यण् भवति खलपुः खलपौ खलपः इत्यादीनि रूपाणि पुनर्भूः इत्यपि शब्दः अस्ति उकारान्तः स्त्रीलिङ्गः पुनर्भूः शब्दः वस्तुतः अत्र पुनः भवति इति यौगिकार्थः if you are deriving it from a dhatu it can be in all three lingas but rudhya I am nitya strilinga why rudhi it is a nitya strilinga word here punarbhur didhishu rudhadvihi iti amarah punarbhu is a woman who has married twice to amara so it is a nitya strilinga word so now initially since it is bhu dhatu it gets yanadesha by eranekacho sanyoga purvasya okay so since bhu the ukara is from a sorry this will not get n by eranekacho it will get by o supi eranekacho is only for ehe ikarasya vohu supi vohu nama ukarantasya supi supratyaya pare eva n bhavati वो सुपी इति सूत्रेण so this is not eranekachah वो सुपी इत्यनेन यणि प्राप्ते then you have न भूसुधियोः right न भूसुधियोः when you have bhu shabda there is no yan when yan has been negated then what would happen achishta dhatu bhuvam itvanena uvang syat if there is no yan there will be uvang यदि uvang bhavati तर्हि नेयङ् स्थानावस्त्री इत्यनेन नदीत्वस्य निषेधः स्यात् so naditva should actually be prevented because of नेयङ् स्थानावस्त्री if this does not get yan if uvang occurs then naditva is also banned but there is a vartika dhrinkara punah purvasya bhuvo yan vaktavyaha you already studied this in pullinga just repeat of the vartika dhrinkara punah purvasya bhuvaha for bhu which is preceded by dhrinkara or punar avyaya yan bhavati so the vartikakara says actually the sequence is initially eranekacho sanyoga purvasya applies nabhu sudhiyohu will negate that yan and this vartika will retell the yan it says if it is punar or kara or drin yan will happen okay? so because of that uvang is prevented and there is yan since there is yan नेयङ् स्थानावस्त्री इति निषेधोऽपि न भवति अर्थात् नदी संज्ञायाः निषेधः नास्ति नदीप्रयुक्तानि कार्याणि भवन्ति इत्यर्थः पुनर्भूः अन्यन्तत्वात् सुलोपो न भवति अन्यानि नदी संज्ञा प्रयुक्तानि कार्याणि भवन्ति वधूशब्दवद् रूपाणि भवन्ति सर्वत्र ओस्सुपि इत्यनेन उवङ् भवति क्षम्यताम् ओस्सुपि इत्यनेन यण् भवति अमिपरे शसिपरे अपि यनेव भवति that is where it would differ even from vadhu shabda and that even when it is followed by am or shas there would be yan by vosupi he punarbhu ambarthanadyor hasvah iti hasvah shruyate punarbhvam punarbhah amipare in case of vadhu it would be amipurvah punarbhu and prathamayoh purva savarnah but vosupi will overrule both of them and there will be yan सर्वत्र अजादिषु प्रत्ययेषु पदेषु धृन्कर पुनः पूर्वस्य भुवो यण् वक्तव्यः इति वार्तिकेन यणादेशो भवति सो पुनर्द्वै पुनर्द्वाः इत्यादि रूपाणि भवन्ति पुनर्भू आम् इत्यस्ति सो नौ यः पुनर्भू एंड आम् ह्रस्वनद्यापो नुट् इत्यनेन नुडागमो भवति पुनर्भू नाम् now the question is can we do natva by atkupvangnam vyavayahi because you have repha and you have bhu and nam so now there is no samana padatva atkupvangnam vyavayahi always comes with rashabhyam nonah samana pade where repha and nakara are in the same pada that is animitta and nakara then only we have natva by these sutras okay? So now punar is purva pada. When you do a samasa, you have two words here. You have punar and bhu. Both of them have pada samya. So because of that, there is no samana padatva, and we would not get by atkupvangnam vyavayeti. Sutramasti eka juttarapade naha. पदद्वयमेव एकाजुत्तरपदे एकं नः इति अपरम् अनुवृत्तिः अस्ति सर्वत्र णत्वप्रकरणम् 8-4 mainly deals with णत्वप्रकरण for a long time. So everywhere you have rashabhyam nonah iti anuvartate sarvatra atkupvangnum yavayepi. This both these sutras will go till the end of the prakarana. Atra tu purvapadat ityapi asti pratipadikanta-num vibhaktishu cha ityapi anuvartate. Fourthah चेत् एकाज उत्तरपदे एकाज उत्तरपदं यस्य तस्मिन् समासे. Initially you have a samasa where there is an uttarapada which is ekach. For example, you have punarbhu, punaha bhavati or punaha bhuhu ityarthe uttarapadam bhavati bhu shabdah yaha ekach. There is a single ukara in it. Okay. So ekach uttarapadam yasya tasmin samase purva padasthat nimittat parasya. So now the nimitta should be in purva pada, right? So this repha punar bhu ityatra repha purvapade asti. Okay. Purvapadasthat nimittat parasya pratipadikanta num vibhaktisthasya nasya. The nakara could be either at the end of the pratipadika, or it could be num, or it could be vibhaktistha in the vibhakti pratyaya. In all these cases nakarasya tadrishasya nakarasya nityam natvam bhavati. Now here punarbhu nam ityatra nakaraha pratipadikantah nasti numapi nasti saha vibhaktistha. Since am has vibhakti samya, nam is nudagama is for am, so that is also vibhakti. So vibhaktisthatvat nakarasya nityam natvam bhavati. Right? So ekaj uttarapadam yasya tasmin samase punar bhu iti samase bhu iti uttarapadam ekach. Purvapadasthat nimittat parasya. The nimitta which is repha is in purvapada which is punar, and the nakara is vibhaktistha. Nam iti vibhaktau nakaraha. Tasmad anena sutrena nityam natvam bhavati ityartha. Ekah prashnah uchyate atra naha iti kimartham uchyate asmin sutre. Why does Panini say naha again? Ekaj uttarapade naha. We are already getting naha from rashabhyam no naha, right? So why say naha? So the first answer is for the previous sutra it is vikalpa. Okay, pratipadikanta-num vibhaktishu is a vaikalpika sutra. So by again saying naha, he says it is compulsory naha. Okay, nityam natvam bhavati ityetadartham punaha nakaraha iti kechana vadanti. Kintu arambha samarthyad nityatve siddhe punaha nagrahanam spashtartham iti dikshitaha vadanti. Arambha samarthyad means even in the absence of ekajuttarapade naha, the previous sutra which is pratipadikanta-num vibhaktishu will apply. Right? Pratipadikanta-num vibhaktishu ityatra kim asti? Purvapadat. Take off this condition. Now this sutrartha gives three conditions. One is ekajutarapada, the second one is purvapadasthat nimittat, third one is pratipadikanta-num vibhaktisthasya. Now the previous sutra pratipadikanta-num vibhaktishu does not have this condition ekajutarapadam yasya. Any samasa, anywhere you take any samasa, purvapadasthat nimittat. If the nimitta is in purvapada and there is a nakara in pratipadikanta num or vibhakti, then there will be natva. There will be an optional natva is what the previous sutra says. Right? So even when there is an ekajutarapada, by the previous sutra there would have been an optional natva. So by beginning this sutra ekajuttarapade, why do we need this sutra when we already have it from the previous sutra? So arambha samarthyat nityatve siddhe. By specifically telling it again, Panini indicates that it is a nitya sutra. For if it is uttarapada is ekach, then there is a compulsory natva. In other cases there is an optional natva, is what he means. So even without that nakara nagrahana again, it can be concluded that this sutra is a nitya sutra, nityam natvam bhavati. Therefore, punaha nagrahanam spashtartham. It's only for additional clarification, saying that ekajuttarapade naha nakaraha bhavatyeva nityam nakaraha bhavati iti spashtartham. I already told you spashtartham always means even without it, it could have been done. Since it is there, we can use it for more clarity. That's all. Okay. So arambha samarthyat nityatve siddhe punaha nagrahanam स्पष्टार्थम. So yanam badhitva paratvat nut ityuchyate. So in punarbu am, so preventing was supi, you will have hasanadhyapo nut. So you have punarbu and again natva by ekajuttarapadenaha. So then you have punarbhunam. Iti nattam bhavati. Okay. There's a question. Is there any nattam that is excluded by the sutra? Anything other than these three cases is possible? No. By which sutra? I mean, I'm not very clear about the doubt. Priya, maybe you could ask it. Priya? Oh, no microphone. Okay. Yeah, I'm not very clear about the question. She asks, is there anything which is excluded by the sutra? I really didn't understand the question. Maybe you can mail me and I'll reply. Okay. So any other questions? Okay. So that's about punarbhu. Okay. Punarbhu shabdasya nadi samya bhavati ajadishu pratyayeshu vosupiti yan bhavati nami pare णत्वमपि भवति एकाचुत्तरपदेणः इति सूत्रेण. ओके. इदानीं वर्षाभू शब्दः वर्षासु भवति इति वर्षाभूः. भेकजातौ नित्यस्त्रीत्वाभावात् हे वर्षाभूः कैयटमते. Kayyata says that this is not Nitya Streelinga because Varshabhu can exist both in Pullinga and Streelinga. It is Bheka Jati. Varshabhu means a frog. Okay. So Bheka Jati, since it refers to any particular Vyakti of that frog species, it can be either Pullinga or Streelinga. So it is not Nitya Streelinga. Therefore, there is no Nadi Samya. It would be He Varshabhu. Ambarthanadhyam na bhavati. Matantare to he varshabhu. There are some people who say it is Nitya Streelinga and do the Nadi Karya. Why? There is a kosha. Like Kamara kosha, there are a lot of koshas. There is a Yadava kosha which says Bhekyam Punarnavayam Stri Varshabhuhu Dardure Puman. He says Varshabhuhu is always Streelinga and Dardura is always Pullinga. Both of them are words for frog, but Varshabhu is Nitya Streelinga and Dardura is Nitya Pullinga. In that case, if it is only in Streelinga, then it would get Nadi Samya by use Tyakshya Nadi. So there would be Sambuddhau Hasvaha Bhavati He Varshabhu iti Hasvaha Shruyeta. And Varsham Phashta Ityanena Yen. We already saw the sutra in Pullinga because Varshabhu was also treated in Pullinga. Now Varshabhu Nabhusudhiyoho iti Yanaha Nishedhe Prapte Varshabhashcha Ityanena Vishishya Yen Vidhiyate. Varshabhu Shabdasya Ajadidau Pratye Parataha Yen Bhavati. Tena Varshabhau Varshabvaha He Varshabhuhu He Varshabhau He Varshabvaha Ityadi Rupani Bhavanti. Swayambhuhu Pumvate. There is a word called Swayambhu. Again Ukaranta Pullinga. Now this is not Nitya Streelinga. Swayam Bhavati. Puman api bhavati, Stri api bhavati. Since it is not Nitya Streelinga, there would not be Nadi Samya. It is not Nyanta, there would not be Sulopa. So totally the word would be exactly like Pullinga. So there is no Streelinga specific Karya which is happening for Swayambhu. Anyantatvat Sulopo na bhavati. Nitya Streelingatva bhavat Nadi Samya api nasti. Okay, so there is a bit more in the Streelinga Prakarana, Ajanta Streelinga Prakarana. Actually, a very small part which deals with starting from Prakaranta till the end. But there is not much, but you can use that to just recap what we studied in Pullinga, because most of the words will be like the words which we studied in Pullinga. So maybe by tomorrow you can just have a look at what we did for Pullingas from Prakaranta till Aukaranta. What were the karyas which we had for Pullingas? So the same thing will be repeated here. Whenever he says Matri Shabdaha, Pitri Shabdavat. So you should know what happened in Pitri Shabda to be actually make sense of what is Vat. Okay? So just have a look at those words. So we'll conclude Ajanta Streelinga Prakarana tomorrow and start with Ajanta Napumsakalinga Prakarana. Okay. So any questions you can ask or you can mail me, of course. Any questions now? Okay, so Priya clarified her question. Nimitta in Purvapada can cause Natva if Na is present in Pratipadikanta, Num or Vibhakti. So where will there not be Natva is exactly that's what. If it is in middle of the Pratipadika, if there is a Nakara as a part of the Uttarapada, then there would not be Natva. If the Pratyaya is not Vibhakti Pratyaya, then also there would not be Natva if it happens to be a part of the Pratyaya which is not Vibhakti Pratyaya. Okay. Any other questions? येनाक्षरसमां नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः. मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य तदुक्तिः परिभाव्य च वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तकौमुदीयं विरच्यते.
The organizer has